1858, a book was published, authored by Eugene C. Gerhart. It was the first book of any note on the life of Robert H. Jackson.
After World War II, Justice Jackson was our leading American advocate in the prosecution of the Nazi war criminals in Nuremberg. This was a move by international law advocates to hold individual men responsible under international law for their crimes against humanity. At Nuremberg, Jackson, as America's advocate, was on a world stage. The world today is following in the precedents he and our allies established. John W. Davis, a leading New York appellate lawyer, said after Jackson's argument at Nuremberg, Jackson's final argument was one of the greatest examples of advocacy I ever heard. Winston Churchill and others said that the history of mankind is the history of war. The peaceable alternative to war is to enforce law. Society needs rules of conduct which must be enforceable, because without order and enforceable law, society can accomplish very little. Mobs protect nobody's rights. The hierarchy seems to be this. First, we need order. Second, we need rules of conduct, which we call law. And third, we need a recognized superior to enforce the laws. The Holocaust in Europe, World War II, is an example of what happens when fair laws are not enforced. In this new millennium, we can still find a struggle going on in the Middle East, in Africa, in Ireland, both North and South, in Russia, in the Balkans, in South America, and in the South Pacific. Religion alone has not brought what we call peace and order to the world. The alternative to struggle and war is enforceable law. Leave to live by no man's leave underneath the law, as Justice Jackson said. If we are to have that, we need the kind of men that Robert Howard Jackson exemplified in his wonderful essay, The County Seat Lawyer. Here are Jackson's own words. Quote, "This vanishing country lawyer left his mark on his times, and he was worth knowing. He read law in the commentaries of Blackstone and Kent, and not by the case system, Harper. He resolved problems by what he called first principles. He did not specialize, nor did he pick and choose his clients. He rarely declined service to worthy ones because of inability to pay. Once enlisted for a client, he took his obligations seriously. He insisted on complete control of the litigation. He was no mere hired hand, but he gave every power and resource to the cause. He identified himself with the client's cause fully, sometimes too fully. He would fight the adverse party and fight his counsel, fight every hostile witness, fight the court, fight public sentiment, fight any obstacle to his client's success. He never quit. The law to him was like a religion, and its practice was more than a means of support. It was a mission. He was not always popular in his community, but he was respected. Unpopular minorities and individuals often found in him their only mediator and advocate. He was too independent to court the populace. He thought of himself as a leader and lawgiver, not as a mouthpiece. He lived well, worked hard, and died poor. Often his name was in a generation or two forgotten. It was from this brotherhood that America has drawn its statesmen and its judges. A free and self-governing republic stands as a monument for the little-known and unremembered, as well as for the famous people of our profession. I recall once Bob Jackson said to me as I approached him about writing his biography, "Nobody would be interested in reading my biography." My legal assistant, Mrs. Lorraine Wagner, and I interviewed him on numerous occasions in Washington. We were delighted when he invited his own secretary, Mrs. Elsie Douglas, to have lunch with us in his chambers. He had a way of making ordinary people feel completely at ease. I commend Jamestown and its lawyers for erecting a monument here to one of America's greatest lawyers. The statue of a great American advocate will be a continuing inspiration to future lawyers and judges, as well as to American citizens who stand for fairness, integrity, fundamental decency, and honor in American law. I am happy indeed to be able to contribute to this memorial ceremony. I salute you all, and mostly Robert Howard Jackson, whose life is an enduring memorial in the law.
Terrific.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. That's terrific.